Our body is an interconnected superhighway for neuromuscular communication. I believe it is then paramount to reevaluate our Neanderthal understanding of the intricate biological mechanisms occurring throughout the entire human organism. If we were to generate and centralize more neural drive towards a particular motor function, then perhaps the desired movement pattern would see an overall strength and functional efficiency increase systematically. MAPS Prime and MAPS Prime Pro are the only lab coat-tested fitness programs to enhance your functional motor abilities as a human being.
Thanks, Eugene! Now go take care of that monstrous stalagmite hanging from your nose. You can find MAPS Prime and MAPS Prime Pro at mapsfitnessproducts.com. Fitness products that work.
If you want to pump your body and expand your mind, there's only one place to go. Mind Pump. Mind Pump with your hosts, Sal DiStefano, Adam Schaefer, and Justin Andrews.
In this episode of Mind Pump, for the first 42 minutes, we do our introductory conversation. We talk about the 2018 Mr. Olympia contest.
Wow, things got shooken up a little bit there, huh?
Yeah, Honey's boys all lost. Kind of crazy.
Uh-oh.
Hey.
Then we talked about anabolic steroids and their effect on training. Great discussion there. We talk about my third all-day workout. I still love them. They work great. I used caffeine, theanine, and I did use full-spectrum hemp extract, which is high in CBD, from Ned. This is a new company that we're working with. Now, Ned does full-spectrum hemp, so this has got all the cannabinoids, which is more effective than just taking CBD, although their product is also very high and tested to be high in CBD. New sponsor again, if you go to HelloNed, HelloNed.com/mindpump, you will get 15% off your first purchase of their full spectrum hemp. Then we talked about the workouts we did while we traveled.
And Sal's short shorts.
They're very sexy.
They're cute.
You missed it. It was on my Insta story.
They are not Viore.
They're pretty awesome. You can see
Your butt cheeks were hanging out.
You can see everything.
I'm going to be honest.
Then we talked about the high cost of Whole Foods, you fuckers, and why I ordered from Thrive Market, which is the largest online retailer of non-GMO organic products, supplements, cosmetic products, pet food. They got all kinds of stuff on there.
Got everything.
Everything.
Yeah, they're the jam.
If you go to thrivemarket.com/mindpump, you'll get a month free membership, $20 off your first 3 orders of $49 or more, and free shipping. Totally free shipping. Then we get into the questions. The first question was, are static moves effective for muscle building? This is like tension moves or isometric type exercises. Do they contribute to physical performance and muscle development?
Yes.
Next question was,
Next question.
This person recently added yoga into their rest days and now started experiencing more injuries. Is yoga good for injury prevention, or is it bad?
This part might trigger some people.
Or is it both? Ooh. Next question was, is it good to get your body fat percentage up every now and then if it's usually pretty low? Is there some merit to fat bulking every once in a while?
Yeah, let's get fat.
Yeah.
Hunter, you look pretty good, bro.
Yep. Justin wrote a whole guide on this.
I did.
This question was,
Bulk always.
It's our number one downloaded guy. Bulk
The
always.
always bulk.
always bulk, perma bulk. And the final question, do we feel as if a poor diet can lead to increased injuries? So if you eat a diet that's not really that great for you, are you going to increase your risk of like back injuries and knee injuries? Is there a connection there?
That's right. Does Twinkies hurt your back?
The
Right out of my
answer
mind.
may surprise you.
Yeah.
Also, we are in September. We just launched our newest and so far one of our most popular MAPS programs.
People are pumped.
MAPS Strong. It's a strongman-inspired workout, but you can do it in any gym. You just need barbells, dumbbells, adjustable bench, squat rack. Trap bar would be preferable. All kinds of different lifts in there. It's a different kind of workout. A lot of posterior chain work, so glute development, back development. It's very intense. It's not for beginners, so it is a harder workout. For those of you that want to know where to start, we recommend MAPS Anabolic, and if you're really serious, do the Super Bundle, because then you got all the programs in order. Here's what you do. If you're kind of just getting started or you're not super experienced, you start with MAPS Anabolic, finish that program, then you go to MAPS Performance, finish that program. Then you go to MAPS Aesthetic and you finish that program and you use MAPS Prime to correct imbalances. That's the super bundle. So we took all those programs, put them together and discounted them. And for the rest of you who are advanced or who've already gone through those programs, try out MAPS Strong. You won't be disappointed. It's awesome. And I also want to remind everybody, every program comes with a 30-day trial. So you can literally enroll in the program or the super bundle and try it out for a whole month. And if it doesn't completely blow your mind, you just return it for a full refund. You can find all of those programs at mapsfitnessproducts.com. I was going to ask you, did you watch the Olympia?
Yes, I did.
There were some upsets.
Somebody got dethroned, right?
Everybody. So
Like Phil Heath?
So Phil Heath lost to Sean Roden, who I believe that Sean Roden looked better the last 3 years anyways. Like he's
much sharper, cleaner lines.
Out of all the heavyweights, he has the least growth hormone gut. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't have this not as protruding.
The turtle shell.
Yeah,
and Phil Heath's gut has grown.
Bad.
It started to grow.
So
this last one, it didn't look.
So it got so competitive.
Yikes.
Okay, so it got so competitive back and forth on their posing that Phil was getting tired. And that, to me, that's why he lost, was because he was getting tired and he was having
tightening up.
He had to
enough?
relax his gut a bunch of times. And when Sean kept himself tight the entire time next to him, and Phil looked bad, dude.
Yeah.
It was a no-brainer to me. I thought if they were going to give it to Phil, it would be a really bad.
He just had cleaner lines, and he was very, very defined, like shredded conditioning.
Yeah, for his size. I mean, he's a big boy. So.
Yeah.
It's Jeremy lost. Jeremy took fourth.
Yeah, so I didn't watch that. So to go from first to fourth.
Did Evogen not pay enough this year? How did that work out?
Wait a minute. Aren't they both
Yes,
Honey's
yes.
athletes?
Yes.
Ooh.
Which makes I'm very interested in what's going on. Now, shame on Jeremy.
Because there's the politics. And
Right.
shit,
There's so much politics. Shame on Jeremy for announcing his retirement before going into the show, because in a sport that is, I mean, there's politics in everything, right? We talked to Flex, and I agree with Flex. There's politics in everything, but there's so much politics in this sport.
Well, it's because it's judged.
Right.
It's not like you scored a goal, I didn't. It's literally judges deciding.
Right. So you tell an organization that you have been a 4-time champion. You've got 2 million followers. You're probably one of the most influential people in the men's physique category and space. You tell them that after this Olympia, you're retiring. Okay, now I'm a businessman, so I right away I hear that and I go,
why don't you wait on saying that until after you're done?
well, if you're gonna say that, you just fucking probably lost unless you make it so undeniable for me that I have to give you the win. Because now what I want to do is I want to give it to a new champion who's gonna stir up all kinds of trash talking and conversation for the next year, so you'll drive traffic. I don't want
went from first to fourth. That's got to be the biggest drop that I mean, I don't know how men's physique works, but I know in bodybuilding, I don't think anybody's ever gone that big. Maybe once. I think Chris Dickerson might have done that, went from Olympia down, but he wasn't like this multiple Olympia winning guy like Phil Heath or even like Jeremy Buendia.
Yeah.
4-time champion.
Yeah, 4-time champion going on 5.
Now, did you see his physique compared to the other guys?
I did.
Did it look different?
So what Jeremy's done every year, and as much as a lot of people don't like him as a person, I'm not a big fan of who he is as a person either. But I respect his work ethic into building his physique. Year over year, he's improved his physique. Year over year, if you look back at his last 4 years, you'd be an asshole if you denied that he's improved his physique. This year, he brought the most size that I've ever seen him, but he definitely gave up conditioning. He did not look as peeled as the top 3 guys did, and that's why I think a combination of not bringing, but because we've seen this too. I mean, Phil Heath won last year, and I disagreed with Phil winning last year, but he won because he's Phil Heath, and he was 7-time Mr. Olympia. So I think Jeremy, with a combination of coming in a little bit softer this year, and then in addition to that, him announcing that he's retiring, I think it became we'll go ahead and look at the next person in line to announce as the men's physique champion. So
that wasn't a smart move.
Both of Honey's guys were dethroned. And I'm with Justin. I'd be really curious how much did Evogen sponsor the events this year?
Now who got third? Was it Rolly?
Yeah.
Rolly got
No.
No, I don't think.
It was yes. Rolly got third. Second was Heath, and first was Flex. Or Roden. Flex Roden is what everybody calls him, right? Or
so Rolly looked insane from what I saw. Again, remember watching. Oh yeah, and Bonyak got 4th, and Brandon Curry got 5th. Brandon Curry had a great showing. I think that's one of his best showings in the Olympia. He looked insane, but Rolly was for me, looked the most insane. He looked insane.
Yeah.
Did you watch his posing routine?
Yeah. I mean, he's not the best poser,
but it's just his muscle size is just insane.
Well, a lot of people think that he got robbed of second, right? They think that he should have got second. I mean, he's just not as pretty of a physique as Phil Heath is. Phil's still got a great looking physique, although I think that each year it's declining because of the belly. I mean, I think that when he was relaxed, it's crazy how much that it protrudes out. If he's not sucking that core in and drawing that in the entire time, it really hangs over. And there was quite a few times where he was posing off against Sean Roden, and he would kind of catch his breath, and he'd be taking these deep breaths, and you'd see his belly breathe out, and I'd be like, "Oh fuck, dude!" He just
it looks like, because the Olympia tends to do this, where it wavers between the looks that they want, or it'll go towards the mass monsters for a while, and that's what's going to win, and then it goes towards the like the symmetry and aesthetics. And it sounds like that's the direction based off of this Olympia.
So that's how I feel. I mean, even knocking Jeremy, right? Because Jeremy was getting to a point, in my opinion, that he was starting to look very classic physique-like. He's thick. I mean, he's full. He's got legs. Like
he got bigger for sure.
Yeah. So I think they rewarded the smaller, leaner looking guys in all categories this year, and it may be something that they're trying to set that tone, because it was starting to get out of control when you look at.
Was that classic physique that was at Olympia this year?
Yes. Yeah. That was Brandon Flex, I want to say. I don't know. I don't follow the classic guys as much as I do the men's physique and then the bodybuilding.
So it's just like an in-between sort of bodybuilder and physique.
Yep. Yeah, classic
type of body.
Classic physique. You could put, there's a classic physique right there in top left. So you could put a classic physique guy right now against the Arnold era, and they look very similar. Mm-hmm. So if you looked at like Arnold,
that's the idea.
Yeah, right. That was the idea.
They're leaner though. People are still more shredded today than they were in the 70s. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
But that's the idea. The idea is to present a classic bodybuilder type physique. Basically, the difference between classic and pro was like 50 pounds, maybe. Would you say 30, 50 pounds of muscle?
Yeah, that's a good. I'm like the borderline would be between men's physique classic at 220, so probably 230. Like your guys that are winning, I would guess are probably 230, depending on their height, right? 230-ish or so, and then obviously bodybuilders are pushing 290, 270. They're way up there. So that's a good. I'd say 30.
Yeah,
there's your winner.
Here's the thing about the current era of bodybuilding. We talked about this with Flex. It doesn't. There's nobody that's super. Although Phil did win a bunch of times, it never. I don't know. At least to me, didn't come across as like the Coleman era, where Coleman won, and there was like everybody knew they were competing for second. There's no way to. It doesn't feel like.
Well, did we talk about this on air or off air? I know I talked to Flex off air about this. Was just how impressive. So Kai Green and Ronnie Coleman both competed as professional bodybuilders, all natural, and then transitioned to steroids.
And that's when they went.
And so the fact that those guys were able to reach the pro level, I don't think people really comprehend and understand that, like how much genetics play a role in this game. Like 99% of the population on all the steroids they could get their hands on couldn't compete at the professional level. You literally 90-something% of those people couldn't. With all the steroids you had to train. And then if you have someone like this who can get into the professional level natural, and then you put them on anabolics, and then you get a Ronnie Coleman. Ronnie Coleman later on, Flex talked about he had that discussion. They talked after the Olympia where, Flex, I think that was the year Flex took second, and Ronnie was like, third call outs or something? And then he said he went up to his hotel room after that, and they were hanging out, and Flex was just super transparent with him on
helping him what to take and
to talk,
what it looks like.
Yeah, and up to that point, Ronnie was like running all natural.
Well, there's another part, too, that isn't discussed much, besides the genetics, because all these guys have insane genetics. But when you've trained for decades, which Ronnie Coleman did, Coleman trained for he started working out in high school. He worked out for decades naturally. He knew his body very well. He knew how to train properly to get his body to grow. He knew how to feed his body to get it to grow. Then when you throw anabolics on top of it, that's a whole nother level. What happens with a lot of these guys is they don't train that level naturally. They train naturally for a little while, but then they throw anabolics on, and then it's hard to tell what's really working. Is it my workout? Is it my diet? Or is it that I increased my dosage of anabolics, or I tried
to lean heavy on the drugs immediately?
Right. 100%. This is why Adam became a pro in such a short period of time. He knew how to train.
Yeah.
And like you've said many times,
which is a major advantage.
Yeah, you said many times, Adam, you got in there to hear what they were doing. You're like, these guys don't know what the fuck is working.
Oh, well, the amount of anabolics they had to take. I mean, that was, to me, when being back all natural, not having steroids in my system now and training again to build, like the biggest thing that I can feel the difference, and this is obviously personal anecdotal because everyone's going to be different, right? Like everyone genetically is different. You get away with more. Like you can get away with so now, like when I train, if I at all overtrain, it sets me back. Like if I stretch my limits too much and I too much volume in a session and I get really sore, like it'll hinder my program for 2, 3, 4 days sometimes, and that will slow my progress down. Where when I was running steroids, like, man, if I could just fucking hammer it, I'd be sore. Yeah, I could push right through it, and I'd see consistent gains, week over week. Which, what does that tell me? Well, that tells me that I don't have to be as smart with my program design. And the same thing goes nutritionally. So because when I'm taking steroids, I'm anabolic around the clock 24/7. So I could be like, let's say my calorie maintenance is at, my body needs 4,000 calories, and to grow it needs just about 4,200 calories or so. Well, I could go eat 5,000 calories. And a majority of that would go to building muscle, and I wouldn't put on a bunch of body fat. And so then now you also get to be a little lazy on the diet. And this
sleep,
is
everything.
Right. This is what we see, and that's the real biggest difference. That I think it doesn't mean, it doesn't take any credit away from those guys that are competing at the professional level. Like, oh, steroids just does it. Like, no, fuck, steroids just don't do that. I know plenty of assholes in the gym that take tons of gear that look terrible. Yeah. But if you didn't learn how to program and diet really, really well naturally, which I had the ability to do that for a long time, is train naturally, see how to understand how to program, learn all that I needed to. That's what, like you said, Sal, as soon as I started enhancing myself with anabolics, it was like,
well, because then anytime you throw variables at something, I don't care what it is, your body, business, whatever. If you throw 15 different variables at something, you don't know exactly what's working. So you don't know which one's a good investment in time, which one's a good investment in effort, which screws to turn to get the desired result. You just don't know. And so if you don't know your body through training and diet very well, which means you train for years, because it takes a long time, not 1 year, not 2 years, a long time for you to really learn your body, then you don't know what's working. You don't know if it's the steroids or if it's your workout or whatever. Here's the other thing, too, you want to consider, and I'm sure you're experiencing this right now, Adam. You train for a long period of time on anabolics, you learn your body on anabolics.
Right.
You go off of them, shit's now different.
I keep learning that lesson still. I mean, it was 4 years consistently, right, with really no breaks, and now we're coming up on 1 year of me not having anything in my system, and I still, I mean, both nutritionally and that's why I'm saying, like, I've put this together now that I keep making these little subtle mistakes of the things that I could get away with before. I could stretch pushing the calories further. I could stretch the volume, further because my body was recovering faster. It was utilizing those additional calories to pack on muscle, and I wasn't putting a ton of body fat on. So it's, and I keep stretching those limits and being reminded, like, fuck, you don't have that. I don't have that advantage anymore. It's like I have 2 days of, splurging on calories and shit. Sometimes I would do that when I was on anabolics. I'd come out of it fucking looking better. Where now, no, absolutely not. Anything that I eat over than what my body needs ends up getting stored as body fat. So yeah, no, it's still, it's a learning curve to go back the other direction.
And this is why training programming is so, it's important for everybody, but it's way more important when you're natural. You just don't get away with as much. Yeah. And when you're natural, you're constantly managing being anabolic versus catabolic. And if you want to build muscle and set up your metabolism so it's faster, so you burn fat easier and all that stuff, and sculpt and shape your body, you want to be anabolic more than you are catabolic. You want your body to be building more than it's breaking down. And that's what you're constantly managing. When you're on anabolic steroids, you have a loud hormonal signal.
Yeah, you're not having to manage
that's shit. Pushing you in the anabolic, right? It's pushing you in that direction. And so you don't have to be as smart with your training, or you can be very smart with your training, but you don't have to manage those factors nearly as much. And so this is why, I mean, when I get kids that ask me, you know, should I take anabolics, this and that, will it really hurt me? You know, I'm very honest with them. I say, look, anabolics, if you get good ones and this and that, it's not super dangerous. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to gain muscle on them. You're going to train a particular way. At some point, you're going to want to go off, and you're not going to know how to train yourself anymore. You're going to lose all that muscle. It'll be very depressing. You got to deal with the hormonal effects and all that stuff. And most people are not prepared. Mm-hmm. Most people are not prepared for doing that. You have, I mean, luckily we have this podcast that reaches a lot of people. You could hear someone going through that, like Adam, who went through that whole period, who's self-aware, was a trainer for almost 2 decades, a professional in the field, and you can hear his challenges. Imagine if you're doing that, you know, Mr. Who, you know, whatever your name is, and you've worked out for a year or two,
right? And
you don't have the expertise. You've
Johnny
never trained
Gym Rat.
You've never trained thousands of people. You don't have the self-awareness. This isn't your freaking passion of all time to learn. What do you think is going to happen to you when you try to go off that stuff? It's not going to be good.
It's going to be interesting to see this backlash that I think we're going to see over the next 5 to 10 years. Because the men's physique category has only really been around. What are we on, like year 7 or something like that?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, I think so. It's less than 10, I'm pretty sure.
Right, yeah, it's less than 10 that it's been around. And now we have a lot of these younger boys, you know, that are in their late teens, early 20s that are looking at the Jeremy Buendias and the men's physique guys and going, oh, I could do that. Like when you look at Phil Heath and you look at Ronnie Coleman and you look at fucking those guys, it's still 80-90% of the population, they go like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
No way I want to be. But now with men's physique, you look at that and you go, I could probably do that, or I want to do that, right?
Well, wasn't it the trend too, like with Instagram? So like I don't know if like people would get into competing and then pull out just so they'd have better Instagram pics, or it was like, you know, they would stop competing and just so they would look good and like present themselves on Instagram to get like more of a business from that specifically, not necessarily from competing, but like if that hurt them at all, as far as like people like joining in and competing like on stage versus just, you know, trying to get super shredded.
Well, there was a transition that I went through with my social media page that it was built first around my transformation, right? So it was like, follow my journey, watch me go from fat to fit. Then it went from, you know, fat to fit, and then it went to watch me compete, my first show. Then I went, okay, watch me, you know, move up the ladder. And so a lot of my social media presence was built around competing. I mean, you guys remember that. That was one of my frustrations with the show when we first started was, you know, everyone, you know, labeled me as the men's physique or bodybuilder guy that I didn't really feel like I identified with. It was just something that I used to catapult the social media business. Well, you know, I went through this period where when I stopped posting the shirtless selfies and the comparison pics and speaking to men's physique and bodybuilding all the time, that it started to dip. You know, my interaction, my comments, my likes, everything started to kind of go down. It wasn't until Mind Pump had really exploded and taken off the other direction that it became much bigger than I ever was as an individual, which was a very refreshing time for me, because then it was like, awesome, now I can present who I really am and post the things that I'm really into and what represent who Adam is, versus trying to present to an audience just to gain people's attention, you know?
Well, I'm curious because I remember the whole shreds movement and all that kind of shit with Joey Schwoll and all. They didn't compete ever, right? They just like tried to get as you know, big and shredded or whatever as possible, like Devin Physiques and all those kind of guys,
right?
And like even like a Bradley Martin or somebody like that. Like there was a lot of people out there that are gaining like super amounts of traffic, and why even compete then for them? Because like their whole business is just, hey, look at me, I'm on Instagram.
It used to be if you were a very muscular, you know, bodybuilder-ish type dude, and you wanted to make money through business, you competed. And if you did well,
right,
then you'd make money.
That was the old formula.
It's not like that anymore. It helps. It definitely helps for sure. But, you know, I know guys who barely ever competed who do now they're still shredded and muscular, but they do far better through social media. Social media has changed everything. Look, go to the Olympia or the Arnold Classic Expo.
Yeah, look at the booths.
And look at who gets all the lines of to people who are going to social media stars.
Dude, I remember Rich Piana's, he was still here. Like his posters were so gigantic. Oh my God. Yeah. I couldn't believe like how popular he was, and he never was.
We're in a different time now.
Here's the thing. This is why I love natural, and I've trained not natural before. I've used the pro hormones, the designer steroids, and all that stuff, so I know what it's like. But here's why I like training naturally so much. I consider myself a student of the game. I don't have the greatest genetics. I was a skinny kid. So I had to really fucking science this thing. I had to figure out how to get my body to respond and change and really figure these things out. And the thing I love about natural training is it forces that. You really need to, you really start to learn. I would have never, look, if I had just always taken, designer, or let's say I was on anabolics all the time, would I have discovered the most effective way to train like I did with MAPS Anabolic? Maybe not. Maybe I wouldn't have, because my body might have responded fine training in less effective ways because I was on tons of anabolics. Would I have experimented as much? Would I have read as much? Would I have tried to figure these things out?
Would you be motivated enough to find out what foods worked out best for you in your specific, makeup?
Right. Would I, listen, if I was 230 pounds lean because I'm on anabolics all the time and I'm training hard and all that stuff, would I ever say, hold on a second, maybe this body part once a week, body part split training, maybe I need to, abandon that and try something. I wouldn't have done that because I would have been like, look, I'm already jacked, Right. So it kind of pushed me in that direction to really learn my body, which is now going to serve me much better as I get older in the long term versus the other one, which will hamper your ability to take care of yourself. I know way more people who did a lot of anabolics in their youth who, as they got older, terrible physiques, totally poor health, overweight, don't even work out anymore. I know a lot of those.
Most are.
Or lots of injuries because they never really figured out how to train their natural bodies. Right. This weekend.
All they knew was overtraining.
Look, here's an example of that, right? So this weekend I did another one of those full day workouts. So we got back from our vacation Saturday. Sunday, I'm like,
this is like the fourth time now?
This is my third all-day workout. So I did it a little bit differently, and I'm telling you, I can't wait till we all try it.
What's the formula this time?
So this time I picked different exercises. I did walking lunges, weighted dips, and weighted pull-ups. So I want to try different movements, and I want to try some higher reps. So I went in the 8-rep range, and it's really remarkable how effective this approach is. It's almost like I cram 3 weeks of workouts into one day in terms of the results I see. And it's like the day after and the 2 or 3 days after, I can feel and see what's happening in my body. And it feels incredible. And I'm getting lots of
walking
messages.
Lunges, a lot more movement added this time.
Oh, I'm doing, I'm not squatting anymore for a while. I'm not doing barbell squats for a while. Not because barbell squats aren't great. That's like the best exercise of all time. But I notice when I do Bulgarian split squats and walking lunges, there's a pretty clear difference between when my right leg is forward and my left leg is forward.
Yeah.
And if I do get any pain when I squat heavy, it's in my SI joint on my left side. So I figure it's an imbalance between the two sides. So all I've been doing is these split stance movements.
Bulgarians would be beautiful for that.
What was the fatigue like this time doing that, though, in comparison?
Fine.
Yeah.
It's actually fine. It's really crazy. But when you do the first one, you got to warm up, get in the movement. Second one, you feel stronger. You feel like you can get right into it. The third one is crazy.
Are you feeding as if you were in a maintenance, a bulk, or a cut?
Oh, no, I feed.
You do?
So, yeah, I wrote it down. I wrote down exactly what I'll show you. So I started out the workout.
What about the following days? Are you staying in that in like a cooler? I would think you would be smart to stay in a calorie surplus for a couple days.
I'm in a surplus anyway because we had that contest.
Yeah,
and I figured it'd be a good time to add a little bit extra calories. I'm not going crazy with it, but I'm eating more. Plus my gut health's good, so I can push it a little bit. But so what I did that day, so it's I started off at 9 a.m. Before that, I had coffee with butter, coconut oil, and collagen protein. And that was my morning when I started off. Then I did my workout, felt great. 6 egg yolks, and a bowl of oatmeal. Now the egg yolks, I had an additional 6 later on because I figured a lot of cholesterol on this day is going to make a difference. And with my caffeine, with my coffee, I made sure to add, I believe it was 15 milligrams of CBD. And I did this with the new company we're working with. Ned.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, good call.
CBD. Here's the fucking jam, dude, with CBD. Well, CBD's got a lot of benefits, okay? But CBD with caffeine and some theanine, what a nice, smooth fucking
You introduced me to that. Oh,
now
it's like running off of pure fuel.
Oh, it's great. It's smooth. And Net it's got full spectrum cannabinoids in it. So you got CBC, CBG, CBDV. The thing I like about CBD is it's not
It's not psychoactive.
It's not psychoactive. It definitely has a calming effect. Not sleepy, but calming, so you just feel kind of cool. But what it does is it improves your body's ability to use its own natural cannabinoids, endocannabinoids, because it doesn't directly attach to the two cannabinoid receptors that we've identified. So it's almost like getting your body to work itself a little better. Unlike, and there's benefits to THC as well. There's lots of health benefits to stuff as well. But if you keep taking lots of THC, you may reduce your body's production of cannabinoids.
So you're saying that with the increase of the CBD, it doesn't downregulate the same as if you were to increase THC?
Well, so here's what I've been doing. So I'll do. I've dramatically reduced my THC consumption, right? Because I thought it was affecting my testosterone. So now I'll use THC, 2 or 3 days, two days a week maybe, but I'll use CBD almost every single day. My tolerance is still. When I go back to THC, it's like I haven't used anything. So I don't get that tolerance building effect like I do with THC.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So I did the workout, then I did another workout, then I had chicken thighs, white rice, then I did another workout, more chicken thighs, white rice, broccoli. So I ate probably 4 times throughout the day to feed my body. Today I'm a little bit sore, but I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's a different kind of sore. I really want you guys to experience what it feels like.
Well, I know our audience has been waiting for it. We had it planned.
Yeah.
We had it planned the same day that we
interrupted.
did. Yeah, we had scheduled. We thought it would be smart. Okay, we had to do a shoot for the
website.
Yeah, the new website and
the naked calendar.
Yeah, right. Yeah, times are tough with Mind Pump.
I mean, I brought my fireman hat.
Tried to
I was fucking ready.
Had Justin's cheeks are on 2 months.
Yeah.
Left cheek on 1 month.
You get a sneak peek.
Open the calendar. Whoa.
Was it leap year? Is real interesting. You know what I mean?
That's gross.
That's a gross one.
Yeah, you don't have it, do you? Are you? Yeah, didn't you always joke around because people think you're super hairy. I listened to one of our older episodes.
Do they really?
Where they called you a muscle cub?
Oh yeah, no, it's just my arms, dude. I'm like bare everywhere else, dude. I'm just like bald.
Yeah, I was just thinking about your butt on the calendar. And I don't know if I should picture hair on it.
Nah, man, it's like
smooth?
a baby's.
Is it smooth like Doug's?
Yeah, it's. I don't know. You tell me.
Hold on a second. How do you know what Doug's ass?
Doug and I have gotten really close lately.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can't you picture Doug's ass? I just see like this cute little bubble smooth ass going on there.
Youthful.
Yeah, it's very youthful.
Yeah,
very vibrant.
Like if we didn't see the rest of him,
nice,
he's fucking 90 and he looks 20 still. You know what I'm saying?
Joking about his age.
Radiates. Yeah.
Look at him smiling over there because he beat everybody.
Right.
Well, we said it.
He's just gloating.
We're going on 4 years together, right? I mean, when we hit about that 10-year mark, it's going to be hard to tell who the oldest in the group is going to be.
I think Doug isn't brewing kombucha. I think he has the blood of children.
Oh, dude, he has an elixir.
Yeah,
some sort of elixir he's concocting back there in his lab.
He's drinking some.
Real soon, we're going to transition our fucking ugly asses out of all the videos. It's going to be Doug.
We're already trying. Yeah, exactly. We got to bring Doug in the mix.
It's hilarious. Do you guys train when you're on vacation? Justin, were you doing any exercises?
Yeah, you know what? I
don't fucking lie.
Listen, I was not like pursuing any gyms or anything. Like I was like on a mission, to have beers and whiskey. Like that was my mission. But at a certain point, after like a day or two, I'm like, fuck, I missed like working out. I missed like lifting weights, and I'm the whole time I was like hiking and walking miles like in between, just because I was like, I got to get some movement in. I can't fucking sit for very long. It just drives me crazy. But there wasn't any gym like presence. Like there was like very little, if any. And so
really, you would try looking it up, and
I looked it up, and it was like there was a few, but they were like in very small. It was almost like, when you're trying to find a restaurant or bar that like doesn't have signage or anything, and it's like in some weird like back alley thing. We found one that was like that.
Did you lift in it?
And we lifted in it, and it was okay. It had like it had some kettlebells, and it had like like one squat rack, but like after that, like I got like one solid lift in. The rest of it was all body weight shit. I went crazy with the body weight stuff. I actually didn't post some of the like videos. I did some like I was trying to make fun of like couples training, and so I put like Courtney on my back and I'm doing squats with her, and I was actually like deadlifting her and like doing stuff. I was like, that's fucking stupid. I'm not posting that. And that's really cheesy.
And then you had sex.
And then I banged her.
I've got a pro tip.
Yeah, I was like, like, forget all this exercising stuff.
Wives love it when you talk about them like that.
Oh, she does. Absolutely.
I just threw her around.
Thank God she doesn't listen to the show, right?
Yeah.
No, so I've got a pro tip for you since you're on this topic. This is something that Katrina and I, we train 2 of the 4 days. So we, at least that's kind of how we look at it. Like, hey, every other day, let's get a lift in for sure while we're on our trip. Unfortunately, I just don't have the same discipline as you do, Sal, where I could work out in a hotel gyms. I'll do it if I absolutely have to. I fucking hate it.
It's so unmotivating.
But what I will do, and what Katrina and I agreed on the first day we went to the gym, because neither one of us were actually motivated to lift. We both were. It was first day we get in, we got in that night, settled down, and then we had the first full day at the beach and hanging out with the boys and, you know, drinking and doing our thing. It's like we weren't motivated to go lift. But we agreed before we even went to the trip, like, hey, let's not fall off of our momentum that we have right now. And so what I'll do with her that I love to do is we will spend an entire hour squatting. And it's not a fast workout, so it's not like I get 40 sets in, you know. Mm-hmm. We kind of take our time, and it's so cool for vacation because we're talking in between sets.
Oh, great.
We do some heavy ones, we do some light ones, we do some mobility, but it's all squatting. It's like, you know, and we'll do that for an entire hour. In my opinion, it's one of the best things that we can do in a situation like that. One, we get the interaction with each other. It's not like this really serious workout. We're doing the king of all movements, which if you talk about a movement that encompasses the entire body, right? Mm-hmm. So you get this kind of full body workout out of it, even though it's primarily legs that we're working with. But you leave the gym, and I feel like we had an incredible workout just from squatting the entire hour, you know.
And
so
you can't squat in a hotel gym. They never have.
No, it's always a Smith machine or dumbbells or something like that.
If you're lucky, yeah. I mean, we do
cardio.
Yeah, what we do is Jessica and I will do. We'll just usually do a circuit, and I'll do all the machines or the dumbbells, and I'll do very minimal
curves workout.
Very minimal, yeah. just a little pump. No, the one that
let's go.
The place that we were staying, the gym, the hotel gym or whatever, the resort gym, is next to the pool, and it's all big glass windows.
This is where the infamous picture came from.
That's right. Because we went in there in our bathing suit because we're gonna go work out.
Booty short Sal.
We're gonna work out and then walk out to the pool area. So I'm in my bathing suit, she's in hers, and we're doing our little workout. And let me tell you, that's a sexy time.
Can I tell you that?
Bro, those are gangster shorts. I don't know why you're making fun of.
These are your daughters.
How many times did your balls fall out of those things?
Hey,
mine are held tight to my body.
That
they
was
don't hang low like
the most DM responses
I'm getting old, man.
I had ever got was that. I've never got. I mean, I must have had over the course of the 24 hours that picture stayed up there.
Bro, you're lucky I don't wear a Speedo.
Dude. It was so funny. I almost posted because I was in like a gift shop for like somewhere in Scotland.
Oh yeah, tell me. I didn't even tell you. Did you come across it? Did you see what I posted?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I saw you roasted him for that, and it was funny because like I literally saw like some very similar shorts. They were white with like green trim, and it like had some like clover on it or whatever. The same exact size. It was for like a little girl, and I was like, I almost posted that.
Bro, listen. Yeah. That's the bathing suits.
That's the style, huh?
That's what people are gonna wear. That's what they wear in Europe, dude.
All right.
It was too easy because I had just seen Jessica's story, and she did shopping with my favorite person, and then tagged Mind Pump, right? Mind Pump Sal, and then I click over to and then Sal's, and then all of a sudden there's this picture of him in these Daisy Duke shorts and his fucking Chucks and his wife beater.
I mean,
and I'm like, this is just
you pull it off, bro.
You're gonna underhand pitch me one like that, bro. I'm definitely gonna fucking post.
It was
showing off them quads.
It was a good time, man. They're comfortable. You get a better tan that way. You know what I mean? You don't get a weird tan. I'm telling you, you guys are lucky I don't wear Speedo.
Everybody was lucky. I thought you guys are sponsored by Viore. Are you not fucking? Those are definitely not Viore shorts.
This is not Viore approved.
No, but they're really comfortable. You should have seen me do lunges in those things.
Oh god.
Oh no! Don't put that in my head. I don't want to see that.
I will put it in your head. Oh, God. Definitely. Then we get back from our trip, and then we go grocery shopping, and I forget how expensive fucking Whole Foods is, dude. Yeah. I bought like 2 grocery bags, like $250 worth of groceries. Oh,
well, dude, usually at a grocery store, like, dude, I could not find, and I think because I was like close to all the tourist trap kind of places, you know, but like, there was like it was all bars and pubs and there was like no grocery store. We were like, fuck, I'm so sick of eating out. Like, we want to like make something and it wasn't until we got to Galway in Ireland where we actually found this really awesome grocery store that had all this like organic stuff, and like they were very surprisingly health conscious with like gluten-free options. Really? I was like so impressed. Yeah,
that's great.
You said the food sucked out there for the most part though, huh?
No, Ireland, the food was amazing. I take everything back about that because I know I like way back in the day, like, now, listeners gave me shit about that.
Irish food, or was it other like? Was it like you ate Indian
Chinese
food?
Chinese food?
Yeah, that's different.
No, because it was all like the beef quality there is amazing. Like anything dairy there's amazing. Salmon's amazing. I think it was just that like any like signature dish, You know, like from it doesn't really exist other than like shortbread and like shepherd's pie or something.
Do you have any spotted dick?
So,
or is that English?
Yeah, I gobbled that shit up.
Oh, okay.
Spotted dick? What is that?
I think it's English. Isn't spotted
Courtney
dick
had
English?
haggis in Scotland.
What's that?
I was
Spotted
like,
dick?
impressed.
Well, no, both of those. What's haggis and what's
Spotted
spotted
dick
dick?
is some kind of like a sausage, right?
Yeah,
And-
it's what you
I mean,
get when
obviously.
you don't wear a condom.
Oh, I thought it was
Yeah.
like Rocky Mountain oysters, like something like that. Yeah.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
a British.
It's tainted sausage.
Okay, so it's British pudding made with suet. I don't know what that is, and dried fruit, and often served
Shwet.
with custard. So that's
Shwetty sausage.
that's spotted dick. Now haggis, isn't that like
Haggis
that's
is-
like the gut,
It's in-
right?
yeah, so it's a lot of the intestines and stuff kind of ground up, and then like with the stomach lining sort of encased
Sheep-
around the outside.
Sheep
We call
or
that
calves.
hot dog.
Sheep,
here in the
sheep
States.
stuff.
You call it's spotted dick.
Yeah, but it's
no,
not
hot
ground
dogs.
up completely like that. I mean, it is. It was like
Isn't that what a hot dog really is all that shit grounded up?
True.
Right?
Well, I had this conversation with Jessica the
it's
other
not
night.
bad though.
Because we were talking about the food of different cultures, and you know, when you do polls, when people are polled, like where's the best food, who has the best food, polls typically you'll see a lot of people will say things like Italian food or
Yeah, it's weird. It's
Mexican
like Italian
food or French.
Yeah.
But here's
it's
my-
Mexican food,
hold on.
dude. Who doesn't like
He
Mexican
points out
food?
all the studies he wants to point
I did
out.
say Mexican
Yeah,
food.
it's weird. It's
No. I did say
Comes
Mexican
out number
food.
one.
Here's what it is. When you look at these regions typically are in places where they're very fertile. Lots of different things grow in these areas, and so people could get creative and create these amazing dishes.
Yeah.
When you go up north in Northern Europe where it's cold and overcast
They have like
and shit.
potatoes.
Yeah, you're
and
fucking.
sheep.
So that's
Yeah,
why
let's
you're.
make some shit.
Yeah,
out of
that's
that.
why the cuisine is not going to be. It's going to be a little limited.
That's
Like,
a
go
good
to-
point. That's
No,
a good
it's
point.
true. It's
Yeah, go to like in Italy.
You got fish, and it's like how many things you can do with fish.
Right, Italy's in the middle of the fucking Mediterranean. Okay, everything grows there. Everything grows nicely. You have all kinds of different. So you can get creative, but you live in like Scandinavia. Like one of their foods, their traditional dishes is like this fish that's buried in the snow and ferments and goes bad. And then
It's
you
like
eat it.
goat balls.
That's
you
a
know?
real.
Yeah.
That's a real dish, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's fish that's fermented in the ground.
Which is also what makes it really hard to impress someone like us who's from California, where we have some of the best food grown in our state. So it's tough to go somewhere else and then go like be mind blown.
Bro,
by the
you
food.
ever have
We get all the best from all cultures, like
Right.
Here. It's
You ever
like,
try and eat
we're spoiled?
vegetables? And remember, where were we in Florida? No, I don't remember where we were, but we tried to go get like vegetables and fruit, and we're like, this is not. But it's because they had to ship it from California. We were far away. I forgot where it was.
Was it Florida?
I don't remember.
It might have been Florida. I wasn't impressed with Florida's food either.
Really?
Florida, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't impressed
What do
with
you mean? They
Florida.
had those restaurants that were really good there. Remember that
Oh, they
one
had that coffee shop that
that
was
one
amazing.
the fucking
coffee shop.
Yeah, the root beer float of ice cream and fucking coffee. Like that was fucking
They
great.
took that, yeah.
like that's
Isn't
real
that an
hard. That's
Italian
real
thing.
hard.
Yeah.
What?
The
Affogato.
Affogato, yeah.
Yeah, not a root beer float.
You know what I meant? You know what I fucking meant?
It's like
That's a very
cold brew coffee
Yeah.
with
Well, I mean, come on,
Affogato.
you can't reference that as like a good place to eat because
Yeah.
it had that. Like,
Well,
come on,
we
and a
win.
salad.
We win the food contest, that's for
Yeah,
sure.
we
You know what I
win.
mean? But no, I got back, went to Whole Foods, spent $5 million on food, and immediately got on Thrive Market and just ordered 2 weeks worth of shit because
Yeah.
Yeah.
you can't. The
stock back up.
because it's so expensive when you go to the grocery store. Like I get messages all the time from people. Oh, you know, I try to buy organic, non-GMO. It costs me, 50% more, and I just send them over to Thrive Market because
that's
you
so-
save a shit ton of
No,
money.
no, you do. The one strategy I still got to get better with Thrive is exactly that: is timing my groceries better. Like I love Thrive Market, but what I tend to do is get an
Last
order.
minute.
Yeah, then I go through it, and then I'm like, oh shit, I need to get something, and then I'm caught in that trap of heading over to Whole Foods or Sprouts because it's like every time I do that, and then I'm going to kick myself because like
Yeah.
I walk away paying.
Are
No,
you-
you got to plan it out.
How are the dogs liking the dog food from there? Didn't you say you had them?
Good. But you know what I keep forgetting to do is to tell people the brand because you bring that up on the show, and then I get fucking 50 DMs on what brand is it. And I can't remember the name of the brand. I don't pay attention to it.
Again.
It gets shipped to the house now. You know what I'm saying? It's shipped to the house. We open the box. I dump it into the. I have one of those big. So I don't keep dog food bags around the house. I literally, as soon as it comes in from Thrive Market, I slit it open, and I have these big Tupperware things that like.
Oh, so you empty the
Yeah,
bag
I do
out.
the
Yeah,
same
so
thing.
I empty the bag and I throw it in the trash right away.
Do they have the big kernel option? Because like I'm trying to get my dog to eat because he just inhales food like immediately. At least if it's like bigger, he won't like just.
Don't they make
Hoover vacuum? it.
Don't they make those bowls? I think Adam has.
Yeah,
them.
I have one. They have.
Oh,
so-
where it makes them eat slower.
Yeah, we have. So Bentley will every single time if I feed him out of another bowl, he will eat it so fast, and he eats and drinks so fast that he throws up.
Yeah.
Every
Oh,
time.
shit.
It's like,
Yeah.
dude, you're fucking.
My old dog
You're
used to
not
do
going to
that.
learn your lesson here? So we had to go get the bowl.
That's just funny, you know. I just picture him.
It's funny because he fucking doesn't learn. You know what I'm saying? Like he keeps doing it. It's like, what are you doing, dude? So yeah, it has like a cross in the middle of it, so it breaks a full size bowl up in these 4 quadrants.
So it makes them work for it a little.
Yeah, they have to
longer.
work for it to get to scarf it out, and he still scarfs it pretty damn fast. But it's enough to slow him down from fucking making himself throw up.
Wow,
Yeah, I'm
that's
gonna have to
hilarious.
get one of those.
Do they your dogs still get anxiety here and there?
Totally. Oh, you know what?
Have you tried CBD?
No, I want to try that.
Okay, so now I don't know. There's no science or anything like that, so I'm not advocating anybody do this. I'm just reporting on what I've heard from other people who've contacted me. People who've contacted me about CBD's effects on anxiety. Now it's proven in studies to show that CBD does have anxiolytic effects on humans, so people can take it and take a decent dose, 20 milligrams or 50 milligrams, and it'll help them with their anxiety. I've gotten messages from people who are like, it works great for my pets too.
So I wanted to talk about this off air. You put me on the spot now to talk about this now, but I have this idea that I want to talk to our boy at Four Sigmatic for the shrooms, because I think like a reishi CBD type of like calming food
For dogs.
So now someone for like me who has bulldogs that are prone to having anxiety and kind of being this way already, like those smaller breeds tend to do that. I would spend that kind of money. Now, I'm assuming that obviously if it's got CBD in it, it has reishi mushroom, it's going to be expensive. But an asshole like me who spends $2,000-$3,000 on a dog would spend that kind of money on a food that I like for a trip like I just did. Because anytime we travel, that's when they get all anxious and they can't settle down. Their heart rate's accelerated. They're breathing all heavy for like the first day, and then they settle down and then they're fine. So if I had something, and right now we have prescription, which I don't like doing that. I feel bad every time I medicate my dog, but I do have those. Like if it's a place where they won't calm down, I have basically fucking Xanax for dogs, whatever the
It's
chemical.
a benzo or whatever.
Yeah, something like that, right? But it does the same calming type of effect. I would much rather use something all natural if I could formulate some sort of a mushroom / CBD type of dog food that I could feed them that makes
Well, the
them
mushrooms
chill out.
I would be careful
Sure
with
is the
because
man.
I would be careful with the mushrooms. Not those in particular, but you want to be careful because sometimes things.
Well, I don't know anything about. I'm just saying that that's why I would
Yeah,
call
ask him,
somebody.
yeah.
Yeah, I would call the mushroom specialist.
Now,
the
but-
dude that
but-
fucking knows everything about
The
mushrooms.
mushroom guy.
Well, no, because it's
The
weird.
mushroom party.
It's the mushroom party.
It's weird because sometimes things that humans can eat totally fuck with animals, and you just wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But CBD in particular, you can literally Google CBD for dogs, and you'll see a shit ton of products made for dogs with CBD.
Yeah.
Like legit. The problem with CBD products, and the reason why we're just for the audience, the reason why we're working with Ned
the shucksters out
is
there.
that there have been independent labs who've tested these hemp oil companies for CBD, and they'll find that they have barely any or none. Many of them do. So Ned is like a legit company. You're going to get a legit dose of CBD in it, but we should find out about your
Look,
dogs. Dude.
yeah, Doug. Look at the one that says hemp oil for dogs and cats right there. Let's see what it compares to.
For anxiety relief, arthritis, allergies. Oh God, now they're saying it's going to do.
Well,
everything.
anti-inflammatory, right?
Yeah,
If it's
I guess.
anti-inflammatory and allergies are an inflammatory response.
Bro, you got to test it. Test it on your dogs. It's way better than giving them the freaking. If
I
it
will.
works, you know.
No, I will. I'll play with it now that we've talked about that.
Yeah,
Good call.
interesting.
Today's Quah is brought to you by MAPS Anabolic. If you're looking to maximize your overall muscle and strength, MAPS Anabolic is the perfect place to start. With a full 30-day money-back guarantee, there is absolutely zero risk. So what are you waiting for? Go to mindpumpmedia.com and get started today.
It's the motherfucking Quah.
Eagle has landed.
Quah.
All right, our first question is from Blue A Tingle. Are static moves effective for muscle building, like a squat hold, or are they just a waste of time?
Oh, it's been a while since I guess we talked about this. 'cause
Oh
it's-
yeah, dude.
No.
Static. Back.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, back in the day, man. Isometric and static tension type movements.
This is how Justin works out all the time. He's
I
too
know,
lazy
man.
to do the full movement. He normally just
Exactly. I made a whole invention around it because I'm so lazy. And I'm just like, fuck. There's got to be a way I can hack my way around this.
Back in the day, strength athletes and strongmen placed a heavy emphasis on static movements and tension-based movements. And remember back then, their physiques were important, so definitely how they looked. But really what was more important was how strong they were and what they could do.
What they could summon in terms of, force output and be able to like add, that amount of, muscular tension on demand when you needed it.
Well, there's a lot of martial arts that have been teaching this for a really long time, like where you keep constant tension like that, and you do like these static holds and pauses for a long time. So it's been around. We've known for a long time that there's some sort of benefit. We understand the science now, and a lot of it's related to your central nervous system.
Oh yeah, it's one of the only and it really super addresses that fact specifically that central nervous system is like one of the main contributors to strength. Like if you can harness that power within, so to speak, like you have a massive advantage. And to be able to hold a position, what we're doing is we're addressing a lot of times weaknesses within movement patterns. And so if it's a squat, if there's a certain interruption in that process where you feel like you're losing connection, that's a great place to hold and really try to summon that attention.
I really like watching Olympic lifters for many reasons, but one of the reasons is that they display some pretty interesting forms of strength. Obviously, they're explosive. They can explode very quickly and generate a tremendous amount of force in a short period of time. Very different than powerlifter. Powerlifter, they generate force, but they're grinding through it, and they're doing it, and it's kind of like a low gear in a car.
It's like torque.
Whereas an Olympic lifter just, boom, explodes. But Olympic lifters also have tremendous static strength. And you know this because in order to complete a lift, many times the weak link in the Olympic lifter's lift is being able to support and hold that weight steady. Because in order to complete a lift, you have to finish the lift, hold it up there, and if you're still moving and wobbling, even if you lift the weight, you're disqualified. And so Olympic lifters develop this incredible tension type of strength. And there's a lot of carryover. Here's the thing, even for bodybuilders or people who want to just sculpt their body, they think, well, what's the big deal? I don't need to do this. I'll just do my regular positive and negative portions of the rep. There's carryover. If you train your static tension strength, your isometric strength, you'll have carryover to both the positive and negative portions of your rep. And what it'll feel like is you'll just feel fucking solid. I don't know any other better word to describe how it feels when you develop more isometric or static strength.
Yeah, it just helps you to stabilize your joints too. Like, I mean, it's one of those things that it slows everything down to where you are more in tune with your body and the signals that that your body provides. And so a lot of times we get through sort of a workout, we're going through the motions of the exercises and the movements, and we're relying a lot on just whatever, like you feel like real time, like I'm going through the process and through the momentum of the movement, whereas I'm not really paying attention to where the discrepancies lie. Like where am I losing that connectivity where I can improve in that area? And so if I were to add some static type holds, that's going to totally enhance my ability to stabilize and add more control in every single part of the movement.
I think more than people realize too, because when I go in the gym and I look at everybody kind of training, right? This is a total overgeneralization, but for the most part, most people in the gym don't even follow like a hypertrophy type of tempo where they control the negative for 4 seconds down.
It's a bunch of pumping, right?
It is. It's a bunch of pumping, explosive, power type movements where you are trying to summon all of your energy, use momentum, get it up off you just so you could say you lifted more weights. Very few people train even in the hypertrophies, and that's on the slower scale of comparing it to static, right? If you're static, you're holding in a position and concentrating on keeping tension completely. So I think just people slowing down a repetition and controlling will already start to see a benefit. You start incorporating a static hold and really concentrating on keeping lots of tension in that static hold. People will see a big carryover and a big difference in their movement, because the body doesn't know. The body doesn't understand, okay, when I do a chest press, these are the perfect mechanics to do that. It says, get this weight up off of me. It's falling down on me. Get it up off of me. And therefore, every part of me is going to try and cheat that up if I'm trying to get it off, especially when you're lifting a lot of or a really heavy load compared to what your body can control on the way down. So teaching them to static hold at the bottom or static hold at top or midway through like that, I think it just teaches you better connection to the muscles that are supposed to be moving and working when you're exercising through a specific movement. And not a lot of people even slow down that process, much less static hold it. So I think a lot of people would greatly benefit by incorporating
I'll tell you
this.
what, here's a little, if you're listening right now and you're a little skeptical, just do this. If you, let's say your bench press has been stuck at, 250 pounds for a long time and you just can't lift more than 250, try this out. Try putting 260 pounds on the bar, unrack it, and just hold it. Hold it at the top. Hold it at the top for 15 to 20 seconds. Keep everything tight, and then rack it up. Do a set or two at the end of your bench press workouts for the next few weeks. Watch your bench press go up. Literally, that's the power of tension and static training. I noticed this with my overhead press. One of the things when I used to do overhead presses, I trained a lot like a bodybuilder, so it was pumping, and I didn't really fully extend at the top, and I definitely didn't hold it at the top. I pump it up and bring it right back down. And, once we started Mind Pump and we all started working together and Justin was really preaching the benefits of static, and I know muscle building history, and I'm thinking like, well, yeah, that's true. A lot of those guys did do that kind of stuff. I started doing overhead carries. I put a kettlebell over my head with one arm. It was real difficult at first because I wasn't used to stabilizing at full extension. My overhead press went up like 15 pounds just from adding that to my lift. Yeah. The other cool thing about static tension is you can apply it at any portion of the rep. And this is great because if you have a sticking point, that's where you want to add your tension. So what I mean by that is, let's say you do a squat and you're stuck at the bottom, which is common of the squat. Well, you can take a weight, go down to the bottom, and just hold tension at the bottom for 10 seconds and then come up, and that's your set. And what ends up happening is you start to build a lot of strength in that portion of the rep that you were holding the tension, which also so happens to be where your sticking point was.
Is teaching your central nervous system. So it actually it may take a few reps and, a few times, working out like this and teaching your body like how to be able to overcome, this stress, this new stress. But what it's doing is it's learning that, okay, now when I'm in this portion of this movement, I'm going to add X amount more force, within that particular lift. And so it's very beneficial from that aspect as far as like addressing sticking points like Sal's mentioning, because it's like now all of a sudden your recruitment is amplified. So now I can recruit more muscle fibers. I can recruit more help and more, sort of soldiers to help, it get you up.
You're making it safer for your CNS to output more power, because what people don't realize is we're limited.
That's the limitation. Yes.
Yeah, we're limited by our bodies can actually generate more strength than you think you can, right? So let's say your potential is 100. Like 100 represents your total maximal real total output, like the most your body could put out. For most people, they could probably summon 60 to 70% of that, no more. Their body doesn't feel safe going any more than that, so the CNS kind of limits it. Now, the more you train and the more advanced you are, the more you can summon it. Olympic lifters are, they say they could be, they're the closest to be able to summon their full, maximal power. Isometric holds and static type tension type movements help increase that because they are increasing your stability. And so now here's the thing, how do we develop muscle? By developing all the different types of strength through full ranges of motion. So a fuller range of motion will build more muscle than a shorter range of motion, even if it's using lighter weight. Training the positive will build more muscle than if you just train the negative. Training the negative will build more muscle than if you just train the positive. So you got to train everything to develop all those different aspects of strength. And one of the aspects of strength that you have is isometric strength. And I used to love taking friends of mine to yoga classes when I did yoga, guys who lifted weights and had big muscles and stuff, and watch them shake.
Yeah, right.
Holding like Warrior 1
That's
or 2.
such a great example. Like I remember taking like a yoga class, being able to squat 300 plus pounds, but then shaking like a leaf just to hold yourself in a semi-squatted position for longer than 20 seconds.
Right, it's unfamiliar.
Right. It's a different kind of strength. The body adapts quite specifically. And so if you're not training isometric strength or static tension, then you're missing on something that can contribute to your strength and muscle gain. So it's definitely not something that you want. It would be like avoiding a negative or positive portion of the rep. Really, that's what it is. You're missing out on something important. So now it's rare that I go by through a week where I don't incorporate some kind of tension or whatever. And it's by the way, tension and being able to maintain static tension, isometric strength, very functional.
Very challenging too.
Challenging, but very functional.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to prevent injury, if you want to, be able to be stable in an accident or you fall down or whatever, develop this tension. If you're an athlete, boy, does it make a big difference. I remember I would grapple, these jiu-jitsu guys or these wrestlers have been doing it for a long time who have this insane, I could outlift them all day long in the gym, but they'd get a hold of me and they would be able to hold me with a high intensity for long periods of time. It was like being in a vice grip. And so it's a very functional form of strength as well. So it's important to add into your routine.
Next question is from P. Swayze. I recently began adding yoga into my active rest days. I also noticed I began experiencing more minor injuries. Could yoga be having a negative effect on my weight training and recovery?
Absolutely.
We've talked about this before.
Yeah, depends how you do the yoga.
Yeah.
Flexibility without strength is instability.
That's
right?
it. Yeah. If you're in yoga, if you're doing yoga and you're just increasing ranges of motion,
then you're just hypermobile.
Yeah. Now you go to the gym and let's say you have an inch more range of motion in your squat, and you put the weight that you normally work out with on the bar, and you go down that extra inch. Just because you have an inch of extra range of motion doesn't mean you have that inch with control strength, with the same amount of control strength you had with the other inches that you've been doing for a long time. And this can become a problem. If you have all this range of motion with no strength, you're setting yourself up for injury. And this is where injuries tend to happen. Injuries tend to happen in spaces we don't have control over. So a lot of times people will be like, oh, squatting hurt my back. No, you hurt your back. You went into a position or move or speed or whatever you didn't have control over, and that's what gave you the injury. That can happen with yoga if you do yoga where you get in, because I've watched people do yoga and I've taken it, and you get into the pose, you get into the stretch, and you kind of sit in the pose or the stretch, allowing your joints to support you, not supporting you with strength. And so you're not building strength within the new ranges of motion. You're just making yourself, more unstable. Have you guys ever trained yoga, like hardcore yoga practitioners?
No. You mean actually train a client?
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, there's some of them. It's crazy. If you're like a all yoga person and then that's all you do, and you have those people do like strength exercises, their mechanics are crazy bad.
Yeah.
Especially like a compound lift, like a squat. Like their body just like the knees collapse in, they fall forward, even though they've got this beautiful yoga pose and they have great flexibility. They've just never trained the strength in that range of motion. This is also too why it's been almost 2-3 years now of my journey of increasing my mobility. And I've had many learning lessons of re-injuring myself along the way because of getting excited because I have this newfound range of motion in my squat. I mean, my squat has completely evolved over the last 3 years, and a big part of that evolution has been the ability for me to be able to get down into a really deep squat and have good control and strength there. But what would happen to me a lot of times is, I'd work on the mobility and like, okay, now I could sit down, and then I'd want to challenge it. Like, oh, let's throw 3 plates on my back and see if I can sit down in that position. And then there I go, ended up hurting myself. So I've had to learn that the hard way of, every time I get this newfound range of motion, I have to then treat it again like I'm moving from square one, strength-wise, build the strength up, slowly and gradually to where, okay, now I feel comfortable with 225, 275 down there. Okay, now I can start to push those limits at 315, but to go just because I can squat 315 to parallel, no problem, to all of a sudden going 3 inches below parallel with that 315 on my back, that's a newfound range of motion for my body, and I have to address it correctly and build strength in it as if I'd never really squatted, because my body doesn't know that. It's never squatted that deep before with that much weight.
Yeah, that's definitely, to refer back to the previous question, like this is something I used to work on because I used to have a couple of yogis I would train, and that was like the biggest thing for me was like controlling the weight, and like a lot of times like they would use a lot more momentum to kind of bounce the weight out, and I'm trying to like control the tempo, so they really had to own each portion of that specific range of motion in that specific part of the movement. So and this is another thing too, like and I used to train like I remember this girl, she was into gymnastics, and we had the similar issue because it was like a lot of really flexible movements she was capable of, and was just like, could do amazing things as far as like backflips and, all these, and generate a lot of force, but it was like, the whole body. And so she couldn't really segment, like just doing like a bicep curl was tough. And so like her arm would just move all over the place. And so it was interesting because, that's a totally different, mentality, like, is to be able to, really squeeze and add, and own that movement with.
Well, they're different. They're different adaptations.
There's different pursuits.
Yeah, exactly. One is a purely flexible, and the other one we're talking about is strength. And even though they can both contribute to each other, they also can be conflicting with each other. If you're 100% all mobility or flexibility focused, it's going to hinder a little bit of your strength gains in that direction.
If you're super, because everybody knows if you're super tight, you have an increase in risk of injury. But people don't realize that being super flexible without strength also, maybe equally or even worse, increases risk of injury. I've had clients who, because flexibility can be quite genetic. I've had clients who had very lax central nervous systems when it came to flexibility, and they'd come to me totally deconditioned. They never worked out. And they could sit in a split. They could totally bend themselves forward. Their arms could bend behind their back, no problem. Lots of flexibility, and they were very hard to train. I had to stop their range of motion short, not because they couldn't, but because they shouldn't. So it's different. Like when I train someone who's tight, they're like, "Oh, this is as far as I can go down because it's real tight." That's different. I would train some of these clients who are super lax, and they're less common, but I would still get them, and I'd be like, "Stop your squat right there." Because I can see that you're just losing control, losing back. Because they could go all the way down, all the way up, no problem. But then their mechanics were all over the place and whatnot. And now here's the thing about yoga: if you do it right, if you do yoga right, you shouldn't create instability in your joints. If you do it wrong, and you'll know because good yoga instructors will tell you, your joints shouldn't be supporting you. It's your muscles. Keep tension. They'll say, like, if you get into warrior pose, like, keep inward tension with your legs. You're not supposed to just sit there and relax and let your feet push out against the mat and sit with your joints and tendons and ligaments supporting you. You're supposed to maintain tension within these poses, and they know it's to avoid this. The problem is yoga is typically done in a class. All instructors are not great, so some of them will just take you through the poses and you just do them or whatever. Right. And so you can develop some of these problems by taking classes this way. But
it's the same problem because like people get into the mentality of the end result, the end goal. Like, so even if I'm doing a lift, like I'm just trying to get the weight off me, instead of really paying attention to like everything that's going on and like really understanding like what should be firing, where you should feel it, like all that feedback that's so crucial.
I think yoga, when done properly, is one of the best forms of flexibility training you could do if you were to do in a class setting. Nothing beats, mobility work that's individualized and stuff like that. That's always the best. But if you were to take a class or you wanted to do something that you could just follow someone or whatever, yoga, if done properly, absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if you guys know one of the reasons why yoga was created. One of the reasons, it was to help yogis develop the flexibility and strength to be able to meditate for hours on end. So they do these poses and stuff to make them so they can be comfortable while sitting in these meditative poses to, whatever, search for enlightenment or whatever.
Next question is from Hunter Given. Is it good to get your body fat percentage up every now and then if it is usually low?
Who's walking around with it too low?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people.
Not me.
There's not a lot of people walking around with it too low.
You know what, though? Some people, I got a message from a lady who was asking me, if I could help her get leaner, this and that and the other, and want to work with me. And she sent me a picture of herself, and she's probably sitting at 12% body fat. I think she's got some body image issues going on. Super lean.
Obviously, if she's at 12 and she's asking you to get her leaner.
Yeah, and you could see in her face, you need some body fat on your body. You need to start eating more. So that's the conversation that I'm probably going to have.
Yeah, if you have like signals like you get, it's like hair loss and like all these like types of things that you're paying attention to, when you're walking around super lean all the time and your body is just like, fighting internally.
I think there's a benefit to fluctuating your body fat anyway, a little bit, right?
Yeah.
There's a benefit to eating less food. There's a benefit to eating more food. If you're walking around super lean all the time, try eating. Now, I don't necessarily think you should aim for more body fat. That's going to happen, especially if you're really lean. But eat more of the good healthy stuff and watch how your hormones and stuff respond. I know too lean of a body fat affects your hormones negatively as well. Men's testosterone will drop, and women will their hormone and progesterone will get all out of
Right,
whack.
and then going back into a surplus being like a super anabolic experience, like that's beneficial for just that alone.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think right now how many people that I've met that need to get their body fat percentage up. Like there's for sure these cases, and I have had these people that have hired me that have body image issues, but it's really obvious, like you're saying, Sal, like they walk in and they already look anorexic and they're asking for me to help them lose more weight. Like if you're that person, then yes, adding some body fat, adding some weight, eating more calories, yes, all the way. Most people, I think, would benefit more from taking themselves into a lower body fat percentage than they've ever been than taking themselves to a higher body fat percentage they've never been. Most people are walking around carrying themselves at plenty high of a body fat percentage.
We don't have a lean epidemic.
Yeah, this is not the problem.
We have an obesity epidemic.
Yeah, I'm just kind of racking my brain right now of all the people that have ever walked in and hired me, and I went, hey, you know what? We need to put some weight on you, man. Like let's increase that body fat percentage.
If we had like massive famine,
or the only cases I can think of is exactly what Sal said, which are there is a percentage of these people that have major body image issues, and they're anorexic or bulimic. And
or even just people who are like like to compete and just or who in that world and just want to stay shredded all the time.
Or like I've had here's another one. Here's one. I'm trying to think of some of the cases. Ultra marathon runner. I've had like an ultra marathon runner or somebody who runs a ton of marathons and they run and they have really, really low body fat percentage. That I could see a place for them. Like, hey, you need to put some weight on But again, I would still encourage them to. I wouldn't necessarily encourage the increase in body fat as I would increase in muscle mass. Like, I would be like, hey, maybe we pull off the running so much. Let's increase your calories. Let's lift some more weights. I think that would put you in a much healthier place.
Yeah, I've had some female clients where this is more common with women because men can get away with being lean long periods of time more than women. We have a limit too. But a woman will lose her period, or become super irregular, and it really throws off a woman's hormones. I mean, if a woman walks around at like under 15% body fat all the time, she probably should bring it up every once in a while. That's general.
I know I hate saying that too because Katrina is an anomaly with this. Where I've been with her for 8 years and she's never been above 14.
Yeah.
She's between 11 and 12.
It's general. I mean, you could say maybe under 12 or under 13 even, but where I would say let's get your body fat up because your estrogen and progesterone are all over the place. Energy's low, your libido is being affected, so you have lower libido. You'll find higher cravings, especially for things like sugars or serotonin boosting type foods. Sleep may be off. Skin starts to get affected where your skin is, you don't have the same quality of skin, or you break out a little bit more. And those people tend to benefit. You bump their calories up and get them to go up a couple percent body fat. And all of a sudden they're like, whoa, I got so much more energy. I'm sleeping better. I'm stronger in the gym. I feel better. My skin looks better. My hair looks better. And that's usually where I see some of the benefits. Now, men.
This is a guy who's asking, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. And I just pulled up his Instagram to kind of see where he's at.
Right.
Yeah, no, he looks great. I mean, I think he's in a very healthy place right now. I went through and clicked through some of his pictures. He's built very similar to my body type. Like if I were to lean out, not be focused on adding and building, like that's kind of what I would look like. This lanky, kind of tall, skinny guy. But he doesn't look unhealthy skinny at all. I mean, he looks in great shape, to be honest. What's great about somebody like this, I think he's in a good position to go either direction a little bit. Like it wouldn't be bad if you decided to get shredded for a little bit, get a little bit lower body fat. It wouldn't be bad if you decided to add a few calories and you put on a little bit of body fat. You're in a really healthy, good place, which that's where I think that the healthy place is. The healthy place is when you're in a place of body fat percentage that you could go north or south a few percent and you're still considered healthy. Like that's really, really healthy is being in a place where, hey, I could add 3% body fat over the next month because I went traveling or I enjoyed myself and I'm still considered healthy. Yeah. Or I could decide I'm going to get shredded for Vegas because it's a month away and I could drop 3% body fat and I'm still considered healthy. Like that's a really good place to be body fat percentage. I looked at this guy's Instagram, and I would say that you were in that place.
Yeah, when I go on medical journals and stuff, and they'll list like what's considered athlete, healthy, under fat, over fat. For women, I'll see anything if you're below 14% for women. Typically, they'll say you're starting to get to the under fat. And I think the way they're calculating this again is based on a woman's like hormones and menses, like is her period stopping. But I've known women who lose their period at 15% body fat. And there's other things that can affect that too. Just you could be at 20% and lose your body fat, lose your period because your stress is too high and stuff like that. But having too lean a body fat will do that as well. For men, they'll list below like 5%. And I think I can agree with that. I think if a guy's walking around at 4 or 5% body fat all the time, he probably should bring it up a little bit.
Yes.
But you can see the difference there, right?
Right.
We get away with
like
more.
I can look at his he's single digit body fat.
Yeah,
he's
maybe
probably
9, 8,
I would say between 7 and 9 would be my guess on this guy, which that's right where I said where he could go north 3%, he could go south 3%. He'd still be in a very healthy place. So I think that's a great place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Eat a pizza and party.
Next question is from Megals678. Do you feel as if a poor diet can lead to increased injuries?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. You know, when I first heard this, so back when I had my studio, when I first had it, this young lady worked with me who was she did hormone testing and gut testing and all the stuff that I thought was crazy back then that now I talk about all the time. And she was telling her client that, you know, reducing his intake of foods he was intolerant to and reducing inflammatory foods would lower his back pain.
Right.
And I remember hearing her say this and thinking,
You're crazy.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. What are you talking about? Like, okay, is he getting that inflamed that systemic inflammation is causing the pain? So that's the direction I was going. So when he left, now I did respect her enough to ask her and want to talk to her about this, but I had my opinion, right? So I sat down with her and I said, I heard you telling, so-and-so that if he changed his diet, his back wouldn't hurt anymore. I said, explain that to me because I see he's got poor dysfunction. He's got, bad muscle function. He's got, bad biomechanics and imbalances. Correct those and his back pain will go away. Why are you talking to him about his diet? And she goes, no. She goes, you're right. Those are also important. She goes, but look, let me explain in his particular case. She goes, your gut is surrounded by all these muscles that support your spine. And when your gut is inflamed, it's pushing things out and it's changing angle of pull. So what does that mean? Well, if I put your hamstring in an extreme stretch, you're not going to have nearly as much strength as if it's in a comfortable position. When this person's gut is distended and inflamed, it's changing activation of his psoas and hip flexor muscles and his core muscles.
Can't brace properly.
And he did have a big kind of distended belly. Mm-hmm. And when she said that, I thought, oh shit, that kind of makes sense. Now, the other side of it is also true. Systemic inflammation definitely can happen from food. Now, that systemic inflammation can cause pain, but it can also contribute to injuries because when you have more inflammation, it can change how you move.
Right.
And once you start to change how you move, now you may set yourself up for more pain or more risk of injuries.
We got this asked the other day about the inflammation. People didn't. What do you guys mean by that when you guys talk about inflammation in the joint because you eat food? And people that have it, it's like very obvious. Like you can feel this nagging pain that you just get out of nowhere, right? You just elbows bother you, shoulder bothers you, knee bothers you, and you didn't have like some serious injury that ever happened to any of those joints. You just know that they ache, and most people attribute that to getting older. Right. I mean, how many clients have you guys had come in when they come into you and they'd be like, "Oh, you'll see. Wait till you get to my age." And it's just when you get older, everything starts to break down on you. It just hurts. Well, a lot of that is where it has accelerated because of the American diet and because of all these, pro-inflammatory foods that we're constantly consuming and eating. And then you ask somebody who's got bad knees and you're trying to, and they're, quote unquote bad knees are because they have aches and pains there, and the aches and pains are caused because of inflammation. The inflammation is caused because of the poor diet. And then you ask them to do a squat or do a movement. It's very natural for the body to move away from the pain or to deviate because
it's a loud signal. Like that,
Right.
that signal is there while you're doing the movement before it even gets started. And you know how that is when you feel something before you even get into the actual workout, and fighting all this inflammation internally, is definitely going to carry into, like feeling that throughout your body. It's going to carry throughout.
It's all connected. So, because I've debated people this before, and they'll debate with me and be like, "No, food doesn't make a difference. This, that, and the other." And they'll say, "Look, have you ever felt pain in your body because you were stressed. For example, a lot of people will say,
Tight neck or
my
something,
neck and my
right?
shoulders
Yeah.
get really, really tight when I'm stressed out. Now, why is that? Well, when you're really stressed out, you hold your body a little bit differently. And because you're holding your body differently, it's going to hurt a little bit differently, or it's going to hurt more. You also, under stress, produce more inflammatory chemicals because your body thinks you're under stress and is trying to repair things. And so you have more systemic inflammation. Well, how you eat can also affect inflammation. And when you're inflamed, it'll affect how you move. And so now I'm moving slightly differently because I have more inflammation from my diet. Now that slightly different movement now is causing long-term problems. Now when you do an MRI of my shoulder, what looks like it's causing the pain is like, oh, we need to shave down the humerus because you've got some impingement. But we don't know that impingement was caused from dysfunction in movement, which was caused from inflammation, which was causing a move. So it just goes down the chain. So what do? We go in and we do surgery. We remove some of the bone there. Now you don't have impingement anymore. We never really fix the root cause. You would be surprised how many people get a reduction in pain from just changing their diet. And I would have argued this myself 10 years ago. I would have said this is bullshit, but it's not. I've seen it.
It's only hard. Why it was hard for us to understand was because we were 20-something years old, and it's still still hard for me to get this through to somebody who's following us on Instagram or talks to us, and they're 25 years old. Yeah.
Still eating donuts.
It's really fucking easy for me to communicate this message to a 45 or a 50-year-old. Really easy. It's like, I get it. You explain it to someone who's 45 plus.
They'll tell you their entire poop schedule.
Right. And they'll tell you because all these things that you start saying, it starts like, bells start going off in their head like, oh my God, I remember when
this affected me because of this.
And I remember my elbow just out of nowhere starting to bother me so bad that I can no longer do these bicep curls. Or I remember my shoulder bothered me this much, so I just stopped bench pressing. Like all these things, they can start connecting dots. It's when you're 25, you're full of piss and vinegar, you don't have a bunch of injuries, you still are able to work through a lot of this inflammation that you don't even really notice any of it. That's the person that this is hard to communicate this message to.
Yeah, look here. What are some of the hallmark symptoms of a very inflammatory infection like the flu? Let's talk about the flu for a second. Or you get a fever. What are one of the hallmark symptoms of having those things? Body aches. You ever notice that? You have the fucking flu and it's affecting your lungs or nothing. You just have a fever or you're sick and you're literally stiff and painful everywhere. Back hurts, knees hurt, elbows hurt, everything just hurts. Or how about this? The day after a day of binge drinking, you go out and you party. Here you go. You're a 20-something-year-old kid. You know what this is like. You go out and you drink and you party like crazy. How great does your body feel the next day? Do you feel loose and mobile? do you feel pain? Right. Do you feel pain in your joints in your body every time you bend over? Does your back hurt when you try and move? Go try and squat and see how tight you are. That's systemic inflammation. Now I'm giving you extreme examples of really acute kind of systemic inflammation from an infection or from a day of binge drinking. You can scale that down by quite a bit, but it's still happening.
Oh yeah,
but it's cumulative. So let's say every morning you wake up every morning and you have a bowl of Captain Crunch cereal, and for lunch every day you have a candy bar, and then for dinner you have some other shit, and you do this over a period of time. That is a level of systemic inflammation higher than you should be at, right. And that affects everything.
It's carrying over each
It affects
time.
everything, how you move. By the way, inflammation is strongly connected to states of mind. They have found that reducing inflammation will help people with anxiety and panic attacks and even depression. They're even finding with depression. This is why some people now they have, what are they called? Nutritional psychiatry, where they're solving people's mental issues through changing their diet. Why do you think it's happening? Why would they all of a sudden they start to be able to think better? Because they've reduced their systemic inflammation. So,
which is inevitably.
How irritable are you when you're in pain?
It's slowing down the process of circulation of blood, right? I mean, that's really what's causing that. When you talk about the brain and it affecting you that way, right?
It's just
you're not able to circulate as much blood at such a fast rate.
Well, I think really just these inflammatory markers, they go in and they cause they send a signal to the body, but they cause damage when it runs rampant. We need inflammation to tell our body what to repair, but too much of it just wreaks havoc on our bodies. Too much inflammation in a joint will destroy it. Look at rheumatoid arthritis when people have it in their hands. Look at the size of their joints. Mm-hmm. It causes lots and lots of problems. Well, systemic inflammation causes it everywhere. And sometimes it can pool in an area. So if you have an area that's kind of injured, and then you increase your systemic inflammation, that one injured area feels way worse. but it can affect everything, including the brain.
And how often have you guys had this before, where you've had a client that's been told that they have like bursitis or something, and then you know, and they're telling them that, oh, if it continues this on, they might have to have some sort of surgery, and then you clean their diet up, and then bursitis completely goes away. They don't have any more symptoms of it anymore, right?
Dude,
it shows up in all kinds of different forms.
I
right?
had a surgeon that I trained, one of my favorite clients, great guy, but also pain in the ass, older guy. And me and him would get in debates all the time and discussions. Not really debates, because I was very respectful of his position and his intelligence, but I would suggest things and we would discuss and we'd go back and forth. And one of the things that we talked about was the effect of food and pain, because he had lots of back pain. And we would do all this correctional exercises, but he had this really distended gut, and I knew it was because he was inflamed and he could have lost some weight. And I said, if we change your diet a little bit, you'll get less back pain. He's like, well, it's because I'm losing weight and I'm lighter. I said, no. I said, I bet you if we change your diet and you eat the same calories, don't lose any weight, you'll start to notice less pain in your back. And so I suggested that he eliminate 2 foods that I was pretty certain that he had intolerances to, that he eliminate gluten and dairy, which is very common in a lot of people. He agreed to it, finally agreed to trying it out for 2 weeks. And he came back to me and very stubbornly, he's like, well, my back doesn't hurt anymore. Went back to eating it. Back pain came back, went off of it. Back pain went away. And he's like, this is really crazy that this really affects my body this way. And I'm like, listen, man, I was sending him studies. And I'm like, these are, preliminary type evidence, but for sure it'll affect how your body feels. It affects so many other things. Why wouldn't it affect, those types of things as well? And it's really this belief and understanding that the human organism is complete. Everything from your mental state to your gut health, to your bone health, your strength, your mobility, your mental.
It affects the whole.
You affect one thing, it affects everything. And so what you eat has an effect on everything on you and in you, including your mental state, your pain, your movement, everything. So definitely can increase your risk of injury. And with that, if you go to mindpumpfree.com, you could check out some of our free guides. There's a new one up there on how to build your arms. It's a whole guide on arm training, totally free. mindpumpfree.com.
Thank you for listening to Mind Pump. If your goal is to build and shape your body, dramatically improve your health and energy, and maximize your overall performance, check out our discounted RGB Super Bundle at mindpumpmedia.com. The RGB Super Bundle includes MAPS Anabolic, MAPS Performance, and MAPS Aesthetic. 9 months of phased expert exercise programming designed by Sal, Adam, and Justin to systematically transform the way your body looks, feels, and performs. With detailed workout blueprints and over 200 videos, the RGB Super Bundle is like having Sal, Adam, and Justin as your own personal trainers, but at a fraction of the price. The RGB Super Bundle has a full 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can get it now plus other valuable free resources at mindpumpmedia.com. If you enjoy this show, please share the love by leaving us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes and by introducing Mind Pump to your friends and family. We thank you for your support, and until next time, this is Mind Pump.